I was folding laundry in the quiet of my small apartment, the soft hum of the dryer the only sound, when the doorbell rang. My heart gave a little jump. I wasn't expecting anyone. I opened the door and there he stood. Marcus, my roommate Jake's cousin. 6'3" of deep ebony skin still glistening from the rain outside, broad shoulders filling the doorway like he owned the space without even trying. His dark eyes locked onto mine with this quiet intensity that made my breath catch sharp in my throat. A sudden heat flushed through my chest and slid down low, pooling warm between my thighs as I stared at the powerful lines of his arms, the way his wet shirt clung to the solid curve of his chest. "Hey," he said, voice low and smooth like warm honey. "I'm Marcus. Jake said I could crash here for a few weeks. If that's cool with you." I couldn't speak right away. My fingers tightened on the doorframe. He was just a temporary housemate, right? Nothing more, but something in the air shifted heavy and electric, like the storm outside had followed him in. I stepped back, letting him enter, already feeling the safe little world of my apartment cracking open. That night we sat awkwardly at the kitchen table sharing takeout. The fluorescent light cast soft shadows across his face. Marcus's long fingers brushed mine when he passed the soy sauce, just for a second. The contact sent a spark straight up my arm. His cologne hit me then, warm sandalwood mixed with something deeper, masculine, rain-soaked skin. It wrapped around me, made my pulse race so hard I could hear it in my ears. "Thanks for letting me stay," he murmured, eyes flicking up to meet mine. That low voice vibrated through the small space between us. I smiled, but inside I was already lying to myself. It's nothing, just a new person in the house. I'm still raw from the breakup. My cheeks burned anyway. The next morning I padded into the kitchen in my thin robe, hair still messy from sleep, when I froze. Marcus was there, shirtless, making coffee after his run. Sweat made his dark skin shine under the morning light, highlighting every ridge of muscle across his back and shoulders. Our eyes met across the counter. His gaze lingered, slowly tracing the curve of my breasts where the robe clung just a little too loosely. "Morning," he said, voice husky from the run, or maybe from something else. I felt it then, an involuntary throb low between my legs, warm and insistent. He trushed to my face. I quickly turned away, fumbling for a mug, telling myself he was just being polite. It's nothing. He's Jake's cousin. This is just domestic, normal, but my body wasn't listening. My breath came shallow as I stood there, the thin fabric of my robe suddenly feeling like too much and not enough all at once. I poured my coffee with trembling hands, aware of how close he was. The scent of him again, fresh, wet, and that sandalwood, filled the kitchen. I could almost feel the warmth radiating from his bare skin. Why did my mind keep drifting to the way his chest rose and fell? Why did my thighs press together without permission? This shouldn't be happening. Not with him. Not with this. But as I glanced back once, just once, and caught him still watching me, I knew the safe distance I'd tried to keep was already slipping away, and part of me, the part I didn't want to name, didn't want it to come back. A pipe burst under the sink that afternoon, turning the kitchen into a sudden mess of spraying water and frantic movement. I dropped to my knees, hands fumbling with the shut-off valve, when Marcus appeared, filling the narrow space without a word. He knelt right beside me, our bodies forced close in the tight confines, shoulders brushing, hips almost aligned as cold water soaked us both through. His strong black hand slid over mine on the wrench, warm and steady, the rough texture of his palm pressing firm against my skin. Electricity shot up my arm, sharp and undeniable. "I got you," he murmured, breath warm against the side of my neck, cutting through the chill. The contrast, his heat, the icy spray, made everything feel too real, too immediate. Shirt clung wet to my chest, and I felt my body react in ways I couldn't hide, that deep pull low inside tightening with every shared breath. We worked in silence mostly, but the proximity screamed louder than the rushing water, his scent. Sandalwood deepened by rain and effort, wrapped around me, mixing with the damp air until I could taste it. This is just practical help, I told myself, teeth clenched. He's only being useful, but my pulse hammered and the ache bloomed hotter, making my thighs press together instinctively. Why did his nearness feel like a secret I was already keeping from myself? The room was dim, the kind of soft lighting that blurs edges and loosens tongues. His low laugh rumbled through the cushions when our knees touched, lingering there longer than necessary. The wine warmed my blood, melting edges I usually kept sharp. "You're easy to talk to," I heard myself say, voice softer than I meant, eyes tracing the solid line of his thigh without permission. Inside, the familiar fight stirred. This is harmless conversation. Just to people unwinding after a rough day. I'm still healing from everything before, yet the growing hunger whispered otherwise, pulling my gaze, making the air feel heavier with every sip. I shifted slightly, aware of how the space between us had narrowed, his warmth reaching across like an invitation I hadn't asked for. My breathing shallowed as I wondered, for one dangerous second, what it would be like if the distance vanished completely. No, I can't let this pull win. Not here, not with him. That night he came home limping, ankle twisted from the gym, pain etched in the set of his jaw. I made him sit and insisted on wrapping it myself, settling on the floor between his spread legs. Fingers moved carefully over the smooth warmth of his calf, tracing the firm muscle underneath, feeling the power there even in injury. The scent of him after exertion. Fresh sweat layered with that's Andewald, hit me in waves, dizzying and intimate. "You don't have to," he said, voice dropping low and rough, eyes fixed on me in the quiet. "I want to," I whispered back, hands lingering on his skin, the contact sending fresh heat tracing through my veins. "This is only kindness," I repeated silently, a desperate chant. Nothing more. Stop noticing the size of him, the way his presence fills the room and my thoughts, but my body didn't listen. A flush rose hot on my cheeks, that insistent take deepening as I fought not to glance higher, not to imagine surrendering to the gravity drawing me in. Helping him like this felt dangerously close to crossing into territory I had no right to enter. My mind warred fiercely. My family would be shocked, the outside world full of whispers and judgment I could already hear. I felt the temptation coil tighter, whispering that maybe one small surrender wouldn't shatter everything. As I secured the wrap and sat back on my heels, our eyes locked again. The air crackled with everything unsaid, my breath coming unsteady. I knew then, with a shiver I couldn't suppress, that the line between us had blurred even more, and part of me was already terrified of how much further it might go. We were watching a movie later that evening. The living room lights turned low so the screen flickered across our faces like stolen glances. His arm rested along the back of the couch, fingers barely grazing my shoulder at first, then staying there warm through the thin fabric of my shirt. Every small shift sent tiny sparks racing under my skin. I forgot how to breathe normally, my chest rising and falling in shallow pulls while the film played on without me really seeing it. "This is just casual," I told myself, heart hammering against my ribs. "Friends sit close like this all the time." But the heat pooling low in my belly said something else entirely. Something hungry and wrong. Just as I felt myself leaning in, drawn by that invisible pull, my phone shattered the moment with a sharp ring. My sister's name lit up the screen, asking about the family dinner next weekend. I pulled away too quickly, cheeks burning, mumbling an excuse as I answered. The near miss left me shaky, a frustrated ache settling deep where I couldn't ignore it. Why did stopping feel like losing something I never should have wanted? Days blurred after that, but the air between us stayed charged, thicker than before. One evening while we chopped vegetables for dinner side by side, his phone buzzed on the counter. A text from his ex flashed across the screen before he could silence it. Something sharp twisted in my chest, a jealousy I had zero right to feel, yet it burned hot and sudden. He noticed the way my knife paused, stepped closer until his chest nearly brushed my back. "Chess history," he murmured, voice low and close enough that his breath brushed the side of my neck, sending a shiver racing down my spine. The scent of sandalwood mixed with the herbs we were cutting made my head spin. I gripped the counter, telling myself it was none of my business, but this possessive surge was ridiculous. Still, the way my body leaned back toward him for one dangerous second scared me more than I could admit. Exhaustion hit hard after my double shift the next night. I collapsed onto the couch without even changing, every muscle screaming from the long hours. Marcus didn't say much at first, just moved behind me with that quiet confidence. His large hands settled on my shoulders, thumbs pressing into the tight knots with surprising gentleness. The rhythmic pressure melted something deep inside me, turning tension into liquid warmth that spread through my limbs. "You carry too much," he said softly, voice rumbling near my ear as his fingers worked lower along my back. Tears pricked at my eyes uninvited, the relief mixing with a deeper craving that made my breath hitch. "This feels too good, too intimate. I can't want his touch like this." My family would never understand, the whispers I could already imagine if anyone knew. Yet my body arched subtly toward those warm palms, betraying every careful excuse I tried to build. The ache grew sharper, pulling me under like a current I was too tired to fight. I turned my head slightly, our faces closer than they should have been in the quiet room. His dark eyes held mine, full of something unspoken that made my pulse thunder. The fight inside me raged louder. "Stop this now, before it goes further." But the surrender whispering back felt almost inevitable, terrifying in its sweetness, in the dim hallway at Tua. The floor creaked under my bare feet as I slipped toward the bathroom, eyes heavy with half-sleep. I didn't see him until our bodies collided, soft against hard, my shoulder brushing his chest in the narrow space. For one endless second he pinned me gently to the wall, the heat of him radiating through thin fabric, unmistakable size and warmth pressing close enough that my breath stalled completely. His dark eyes locked onto mine in the faint glow from the nightlight, heavy with the same storm I felt twisting inside. "Sorry," he breathed, voice rough as gravel. But neither of us moved. The air thickened, charged like the moment before lightning strikes. I should push away. "This is wrong. Jake could wake up any second. My family would be horrified if they knew." Yet Ron-Eid flooded every inch of me, a hunger I'd never tasted before, pulling me under like gravity too strong to fight. I swallowed hard, pulse hammering in my throat, the scent of sandalwood clinging to his skin making my head spin. His hand hovered near my waist, not quite touching, but close enough that the almost contact burned hotter than any real touch ever could. "Tell me to stop," his eyes seemed to beg, but my lips wouldn't form the words. The ache between us grew unbearable, trembling on the edge of surrender, until finally I slipped past him on shaky legs, heart still racing as I closed the bathroom door behind me. The next evening the kitchen felt smaller than ever, air thick with unspoken words and the faint hum of the fridge. Marcus stood across from me, his presence filling the space like a gathering storm. He stepped closer, cupping my face with one large hand, his dark thumb tracing slowly over my lower lip. The gentleness in that single touch sent electricity racing straight through me, pooling low and insistent. "Tell me to stop," he murmured, voice low and rough, eyes searching mine with desperate intensity. I couldn't. The fight inside me fractured completely. This crosses every line, my roommate's cousin, the color of his skin that would make holidays impossible, the whispers that would follow. At the craving one, his mouth met mine in a hungry kiss that stole what little breath I had left, hands sliding under my shirt to grip my waist with firm warmth that made my knees weaken. We stumbled toward the bedroom, bodies pressing with urgent need, clothes shifting and half falling away as the scent of sandalwood mixed wildly with everything I was feeling. The door clicked shut behind us, the world narrowing to just his heat, his strength, the way every almost moment from before finally crashed together. His strong body hovered over mine on the bed, the thick press of him hot and undeniable against me when the front door suddenly clicked open down the hall. Jake's keys jingled, footsteps approaching far too soon. Marcus froze above me, eyes wide with shock and lingering hunger that mirrored my own. I lay there breathless, heart hammering wildly between guilt and an insatiable craving that refused to fade. As those footsteps drew closer, he whispered against my lips, voice trembling with the same storm still raging in me, "This isn't over." The words hung in the charged silence, my body still trembling beneath him with forbidden temptation and the terrifying knowledge that I would crave him again. No matter how wrong it felt, no matter how impossible it seemed, even as we pulled apart in frantic silence, dressing quickly while Jake called out from the living room, the ache lingered deep, a bittersweet pull that promised nothing would ever feel the same.